Hi, I'm Emily Stevens, Manager of Leisure Services for the City of Lansing Parks and Recreation Department, and we're here today to feature a really awesome collaborative project that we have with the Lansing Art Gallery called ArtPath. ArtPath is 2.5 miles of 20 artists installed throughout the summertime. It's all temporary, so it comes and goes every summer, and we just love the energy it brings to our river trail. ArtPath is a great way for us to expose art to people that might not come in through gallery doors, and it's also a great way to pull people outside to enjoy the art as they're walking around and getting healthy. So we're really happy with this collaboration that we have. We are so grateful for our partners with Lansing Art Gallery, who make sure that all the artists are vetted and juried, so we make sure that they're chosen well. They actually raise money and pay the artists, so we're actually really thanking the artists for doing the work, and we appreciate all their efforts to make our city more beautiful. And we really hope you enjoy ArtPath this year and for many other summers to come.
Welcome to the Lansing River Trail and ArtPath 2021. I am Katrina Daniels. I'm with Lansing Art Gallery and Education Center, and I am one of the co-founders of Lansing ArtPath. It's hard to believe that we're actually in our 4th year of bringing Michigan artists to create temporary site-specific work along the Lansing River Trail. Here we are at one of our trailhead signs, and this is our ArtPath 2020 sign, Public Art on the Lansing River Trail. It is 2.5 miles and 20 Michigan artists. And I wanted to draw your attention to this sign because there's so much information here. So what you'll notice is the map. On each of the maps, there's a few different wayfinding icons to help you understand where you are. We have the Lansing Art Gallery and Education Center. We produce this project. We have the state capitol and the Turner Dodge House. There is also an icon to let you know where you are. I know that a lot of folks love to walk and bike the trail. You might not have your phone with you, so this is a great way to kind of get your bearings and understand where to find everything. You'll also notice that we have an image, title, and name of the artist on here for each of the 20 sites, which correspond to the map right here as well. I also wanted to point out the folks who made this happen. It is produced by Lansing Art Gallery and Education Center in partnership with the City of Lansing, and we couldn't have done it without our title sponsors, Rothbun Insurance Agency and Auto Owners Insurance. For those of you who maybe do have your phone with you, you want to have a guided experience, I want to point out our QR code. So you just have to take the photo app of your phone. You don't need to have anything special. You can hold it up, scan it, and it'll open it up and bring you to a Google map. And on this map, you'll find not only GPS coordinates of all of the work, you'll also find public parking, information about the artist, and pictures of the artist's work. So let's say you're looking for a particular artist, you'll be able to find that by using that QR code, and it'll direct you with walking or biking directions there. Or if you prefer a paper piece, if you go to our website at lansingartgallery.org, we do have a downloadable and printable map that you can print at home, and then you can bring that map out with you that has the same information as the sign, but it just allows you to be able to have that piece in your hand while you traverse the Lansing River Trail. We are here at the first site of ArtPath, Public Art on the Lansing River Trail. This is site number 1 of 20, and we are located at the historic Turner Dodge Mansion. So for the 4 years that we have been producing ArtPath, Turner Dodge has been sort of our anchor site where the work always starts here. It's a historical monument in the community and a really well-known space. So behind me is a beautiful sculpture by K.W. Bell, who is in the greater Lansing area, and this work is called Sacred Sorrow. And you can see the figure holding her head in her hands, and she's weeping. The artist had an artist talk here, and she spoke about this work as being representative of the community weeping together after this past year of 2020, and how there were disparities in the community that already existed. However, the pandemic just highlighted those. And in this way, she's hoping that we can come together as a community and share in this figure's grief and try to alleviate some of that isolation that we've had throughout the past year. We are standing here in front of Captured Moments by Erica Bradshaw, who is a visual artist out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. And this is site number 2 on the Lansing River Trail. We are just south of the Turner Dodge House. What you see behind me is a sculptural installation that the artist created using her own original work, as well as slides of her great-grandmother's work. So Erica's great-grandmother was actually a landscape painter and took a number of photographs. And Erica has these on slides that were traditionally used when studying art or used in art history. So Erica created this beautiful installation with the light shining through the slides, and she views this actually as a collaboration between herself and her great-grandmother. And if you take a look very closely, you'll notice that most of the slides are showing landscapes, except there are 2 that have people, and those are actually her great-grandparents. So when you come, take a look and take the opportunity to get a little bit closer and see if you can find those too. Here we are at Branky Fish Ladder in Old Town Lansing, and this is site number 3 on the River Trail. This is Wind Song Station by Charles Jarvis, who is out of Grand Ledge, Michigan. Charles stated that he loves bringing his family here into Old Town, and he wanted to create something that was beautiful and functional, where you could have a picnic, you could stop and repair your bike, or even set something down and take a rest. And he also wanted to use the wind that came through here to create beautiful sounds through the wind chimes. You can find this right on the top of the hill near the fish ladder in Old Town Lansing. We are here at Site 4, Botanical Geometry, a sculptural installation by Christina Beals, and this can be found at the Oakland Street Trailhead. There is accessible parking right here, and you'll be greeted by this beautiful collection of vibrantly painted sculptures. Christina is actually paints in the tradition of folk art, so she's using bright colors, clean lines, and geometric forms. She often works in much smaller scale, but has stretched herself as an artist and created this beautiful installation that you can walk through. And she chose these colors because she wanted to create a vibrant juxtaposition between the work itself and the natural landscape of the Lansing River Trail. We are here at Site 5, which is a fiber installation along the Oakland Bridge, the part of the river trail that connects Oakland and Saginaw. And this is a fiber and textile installation by printmaker Wendy Shaft. She actually used lino cuts to create these beautiful prints that you see behind me, and this installation was inspired by the pollinators in the community, specifically ones that you find in Michigan, and she's most interested in having a conversation about the importance of pollinators in our environment. So you'll see monarchs, bees, as well as native floral and fauna that they are attracted to. We are at site number 6, which can be found at the Saginaw Street Trailhead. And this sculpture you see behind me is called Windows by Kelly O'Neill, who is a sculptor and maker out of Brighton, Michigan. This sculpture features scrap metal, which is something that she often uses in her work. Kelly is inspired by finding found objects and finding new uses for those. She's also incorporated stained glass in this work, so it's one of those pieces that really changes throughout the day depending on where the sun is shining through it and where you're standing. It just has a beautiful backdrop of the river trail right behind it. So please come out and see Windows by Kelly O'Neill at site number 6. We are here at Riverfront East. The sculpture behind me is called A Different Drummer, and it is by sculptor Douglas Gruenza. This large aluminum piece was inspired by the percussion line at the music school, the Interlochen Center for Performing Arts. Douglas has a background in sculpture and furniture making, and he actually spent many years creating set designs for performances and theater. And when I asked him about what specifically this particular piece was, he really didn't want to tell too much about it because he really felt that it was important for the viewer to be able to see the work and make that decision on their own. So to me, it looks like maybe a piece that you might find inside of a car or like a hardware store, just at a magnified scale. But he really felt like it was important for the viewer to use their own imagination and make that decision themselves. Douglas currently teaches at Interlochen and also lives in Interlochen, Michigan. We are at Riverfront East. We're just a little bit south from the sculpture that we just saw by Douglas Gruenza, and the sculpture behind me is called Blue Tree by Ray Katz. He is from Pontiac, Michigan, and he is a sculptor. Ray actually generally works in very, very large forms, but he created something specifically for this show that's a little bit smaller and fits the scale of the project. I love it because it feels like an abstracted form that you might find in nature, and the yellow base really makes it feel a little bit more prominent. And this is kind of tucked away right here across from the river at Adado Riverfront Park. We're hoping to work with this artist again. He shows all throughout Michigan, and like I said, this is the first time he's shown with us, but we are hoping to have more of his sculpture in the future. We are still in Riverfront East. We are at the third installation that you'll find here. This is Help by artist Sinclair Chase Corte. He is a fine arts painter, and he created this beautiful sculptural installation of painted panels that are actually using hands to sign the word help using American Sign Language. Sinclair talks about in his artist statement about how he lost his father at a very young age. Having lost a parent has been really challenging for his mental health, and he has really found solace in painting. During COVID in 2021, that were even more challenges due to isolation and all of the global trauma that we were feeling. Sinclair was hoping that this piece might speak to others who are feeling the same way, and he asked that we share the phone number on the signage for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, so that others feel that there is access to help and know where to find that help. We are standing in front of the Michigan Avenue Bridge with a spiral staircase that takes you down in front of Life in Lansing, a painting by Hector Acuna. Hector has been a Lansing-based artist for the last few years as he's been finishing his MFA at Michigan State University. He was new to Michigan and new to Lansing, and he came here for this opportunity with school. He fell in love with this city and is an artist that we started working with at the gallery. And Hector recently wrapped up his MFA program and is actually heading back to his home in Wisconsin. And he was delighted to be able to participate in this public art project one last time. He participated a couple of years ago, and kind of leave this gift with the city. So the work that you see behind me is this vibrant, beautiful, abstracted landscape of the city of Lansing. And you'll notice symbols such as the Capitol or the beloved Three Stacks in the portrait. And it's filled with vibrant colors which change the space that we're seeing. What used to be behind me was a dilapidated river trail sign that no longer had information that was relevant to the trail as it was a number of years old. So working with the City of Lansing, we rehabilitated this old sign and replaced it with this beautiful painting. Again, you can find this here at Site 10, just down the spiral staircase at Michigan Avenue Bridge, and it is Life in Lansing by Hector Acuna. Here we are under Kalamazoo Bridge, where we have 3 brand new murals from this year and 1 mural from last year. We are currently standing in front of Be Kind. This is site number 11. This mural is by Amina Murray, who is a local artist, and this is her first mural that she's ever created. Amina was inspired by a year that has been tumultuous for most, that was filled with social isolation, tragedy and difficult times. And in her artist statement, she specifically talks about the healthcare workers who really have been on the front lines during dealing with the pandemic and coronavirus, and how the simple act of kindness to yourself and to the community and to the public around you is something that really shouldn't be taken for granted and is something that we should do more of. So you'll notice a little ribbon tied on the fingers, and this is something, if you remember as a child, maybe putting a ribbon on your finger as to not forget. And so that is what she is emulating here in her mural, Be Kind, which is site number 11. We are at our next mural, site 12. This is Be Curious by Sarah Pulver, who is a local artist and illustrator. And Sarah was inspired by the floral and fauna of Michigan. And what you see behind me is a whole treasure trove of animals, feathers, plants, flowers, and sort of the infamous morel mushrooms, which we all want to find when we're foraging. All behind me in a mural that really resembles a cabinet of curiosities. It feels a little bit like you're in a natural history museum, even though we're right here under Kalamazoo Bridge. And this mural has a special secret because on the sign, there's a QR code that if you scan with your phone, it'll actually show a digital rendering that has all of the information about what is here. So if you scan it, you'll be able to find all of the animals, the floral and fauna. It's really fun to see if you can recognize any on your own, and it's really great to do with your kids. So Curious Michigan by Sarah Pulver. We are at our final mural under Kalamazoo Bridge. This is Unbothered by Waleed Johnson. It is site number 13. Waleed is an artist and a muralist out of Detroit, Michigan, and he created this beautiful image of a woman sort of surrounded by light. And he was actually inspired by a friend of his, and he took the picture and created a drawing of this mural before he even knew that he was going to have a place to realize it. And similar to the first mural we looked at, this artist has also been inspired through the trauma of the past year, what social isolation and the coronavirus has done to our community. And he is using this artwork as an opportunity to hopefully shine some light into the community. We are standing in front of site 14, which is called Remote Learning, a mural by Michael Sklenka, who is a Detroit-based artist and architect. Like many of the other artists who you'll see this year, Michael was also inspired by the coronavirus, but he's looking at it a little bit differently. So in this particular work, he has this story of these children who have stumbled upon a trash can filled with books, and they're laying down and reading the books. And he's actually used the shape of this wall in such a way that the figures change positions in order to fit the space. And one of my favorite little secrets about this is all of the books have titles. And I myself and my mom and a few other people I knew at the gallery were actually able to contribute titles of some of our favorite books. So if you look closely, you'll see a few classics like The Little Women, but you also might see the Ramona series, which was a series I loved growing up, and they're all written into the titles. We are at site 15. This is The Ascension of Bel by artist Isaiah Lattimore. So this piece is particularly interesting because this artist created another large-scale mural, which is actually at the end of this long wall in 2020. And that mural is titled Saint Cecilia, and it's a beautiful reclining figure of a woman wearing a mask, which of course is a very familiar sight for all of us in 2020. And the artist wanted to create an image that sort of mirrored Saint Cecilia and was hopefully recognizing that we're moving into the next stage of moving, certainly not fully beyond the coronavirus yet, but moving forward. And so as Saint Cecilia is in a full recline with the mask, he felt like it was a representative of the nation being tired. And that this particular mural was hopefully recognizing the next step. When you see the whole wall, you'll notice that the face that's right behind me actually mirrors the face of the mural at the end. So you're seeing sort of two sides of a coin by the same artist. We are standing in front of Site 16. This is Mollification by Mike Ross, who is a fine artist and muralist out of Pleasant Ridge, Michigan. And this mural is really beautiful. It's very design driven. To me, it has a sort of vintage aesthetic and reminds me a little bit of something you might find on like a record album. And as a fun fact, when Mike was out here painting, he had set up sort of a little system with all of his paints and his vintage box, and he was playing great Caribbean jazz while he was painting this mural. And for Mike, this is very much in sort of his aesthetic and his oeuvre, but he doesn't come with a very specific plan before he comes to the work, because he really wants to create something that is site specific and that you're not going to be seeing at other areas. So although his work is recognizable as an artist, this piece was painted specifically for this wall as part of ArtPath 2021. Here we are at Site 17. This is Elm Park, and it is called Infinite Summer by Trevor Grable. And Trevor is a printmaker and muralist out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Something really special about this particular mural is that the artist reimagined a basketball court with his mural, which was, a completely different way of thinking for him and working, because instead of working on a vertical wall, he had to think about not only how you would view this piece, but also how you would interact with this piece as a basketball player, and how would that actually affect you when you're playing. And he wanted to celebrate the joy of a long summer day. So if you look closely at this work, you'll see all types of imagery, including a basketball, people, a shoe, and shapes that to him represent what it is to have a long summer day. And Trevor also comes from a printmaking background, so these very clear linear shapes and lines are something that is traditionally found in printmaking, and he really translated that practice into this mural. So again, this is Infinite Summer by Trevor Grable, and you can find it at the Elm Park, and it is our reimagined basketball court. So we are at Elm Baseball Field. We are at site number 18, and this is Path Pals by Daniel Hogan. And this location, because this is a really family-friendly space, we always do something interactive and kid-friendly. And this year is a perfect example of that. So Path Pals is an interactive sculpture, and it's created by Daniel Hogan, who is not only an artist, but he's also an illustrator and a cartoonist. And this is the first time that he's actually worked this large. So his idea was to create something that people of all ages could interact with, take selfies with, poke their head through, and take a photo and post it on social media. So the artist is hoping that when you come out here with your friends and family, you'll take a photo and you'll use hashtag PathPals and hashtag Lansing Art Path so that we can see your favorite memories of this particular sculpture. We are at site 19. This is Eye of the Storm, a sculpture created by artist Michael McNaughton, who is from East Lansing, Michigan. Michael is somebody who is really interested in textures and layers and patina. So traditionally, he is looking at found objects. He's somebody who's very much inspired by works that are maybe given a second life by going to the scrapyard, finding metal pieces that were used for something else at one point, and then reconfiguring them. Michael, in his artist statement, talks about choosing these pieces that he puts together much in the same way that an artist might choose paints for their palette. So again, we have Eye of the Storm by Michael McNaughton. here we are at Site 20. This is the southernmost site on ArtPath. And this work is called Notes Coming Off the Endangered Species List. And it is a poem created by artist Nancy DeJoy. This is the first time that we've actually introduced the written word and poetry into public art. And as Nancy said, she believes that as a project that this is actually we're really on the forefront of introducing poetry into the visual arts. One thing that I love about this particular piece is it's set on an area that's just a little bit off of the main river trail near two benches. And so this will be here even after the summer because it's actually engraved into the concrete. And at different times you may pass it if you sit down to take respite or change your shoe or have a drink of water, and you look down and you'll find this poem and this beautiful image of a Michigan warbler engraved at your feet. We hope you enjoyed taking this journey and exploring ArtPath 2021 with us. We wanted to take a moment to share something about ArtPath that you might not know, and that is that some of the murals stick around. So the mural behind us was created in 2018. It was our very first ArtPath year, and it's one of the favorites here at Lansing because people love to have their photograph taken in front of the wings. So this is something to look forward to. We'll have more work coming in 2022, but there will also be some of these murals that are sticking around throughout the year.
That's right, so you don't only have to visit the river trail during ArtPath. Please, it's open year-round. We want you guys out here active. We keep up as much as we can, so it's something, we have pretty walls to look at and pretty nature to look at. So we want to make sure that you're enjoying yourself here and you're coming down and being healthy. And we hope that you enjoyed 2021, and we hope that you come out for 2022 and enjoy that just as much. So we thank you for all your support. I thank the Lansing Art Gallery. We love all the partnership and the efforts they put forth this, and we're so glad that we're able to be a part of it. So thanks, and we'll see you next year.